All right, so I think it has now been about 24 hours since the last time I made one of these vlog posts. I have made it to the Bay Area and I am staying here and rejuvenating, and I spent the morning catching up on emails and a lot of very important behind the scenes work. Finally got a video posted, so that was quite important. A skiing related video, so you guys will probably see it in a couple hours. But yeah, I mean, in terms of doing all this travel, it's important to take a rest day. And no, I would not count running the half marathon and then not going into the park for the rest of the day as a rest day in it of itself. You know, when you're running a travel related business, you still have to, at least in my view, take the time to do the business part. And I honestly think one of the most tough parts about this career is finding that right balance. So, you know, like, obviously it costs a good amount of money to be out here, but I can't just let everything slip through the cracks for the next 2 weeks. And, you know, right now you're catching me as I'm going to meet a friend for lunch. I think it's important to, when you're in the area and you know people, to at least connect with them. But I will certainly be doing more work later today, and getting some more good rest before heading to my next national park tomorrow, which is going to be Pinnacles. So that should be fun. All right, so we are in San Mateo right now. I'm here with Raul and Hannah, who some of you guys might recognize from PeakHouse 2024. They're also close friends of mine, and Raul and Hannah gave me some valuable advice about my peak adventure. Would you like to share any of it with the class?
We want to see more content relating to the trolls of peak rankings, and yeah, we want to rank them. I think the trolls deserve to be ranked, and we deserve to see which are the best ones and the worst ones.
Okay, what context can you give on those trolls? And Hannah, do you want to add anything?
I agree. I would love to see that. These trolls or comments are illegitimate. I don't know what they're talking about. I love using peak rankings.
Wait, sorry, what comments? Because you guys,
I don't have any specific ones in mind. I need to browse through.
You're saying there are too many haters in the Instagram comments?
And the YouTube comments.
And the YouTube comments.
You know who you are.
Because you know this is going to be up on YouTube. And maybe Instagram too, but...
No.
Okay, so are you going to be in these comments checking on this video?
I'm going to start policing them, you know, taking down the trolls, trolling them back.
Watch out.
Okay. I guess there you have it, guys. If you're a troll, then maybe you'll get hit back in the comments. I don't know. But the other thing that they were also telling me is Death Valley is pretty sick, and it's also good to take breaks and see your friends when you're in between national parks. What is up, guys? So I am about to pull in and finish up with my driving for the day. Unfortunately, with the Bay Area traffic, even though today has been my rest day, I still ended up driving for approximately 3 hours. An hour and 15 minutes to where I met up with Raul and Hannah, and about an hour and 50 minutes to get back to where I'm staying. So, you know, there's no getting around driving when you're in this part of the world, I guess. And yeah, I guess this was the day off, so at least I didn't have to do that much physical exercise, but still a little bit more driving than I would have liked, but you know, you still can't complain. And I have a number of hours before the sun goes down for some still needed R&R. What up, folks? Day off is now over. I have answered many emails and I've also taken some meetings, but now we are back to the national park grind and headed to Pinnacles. But before I leave, I'm doing something very, very important. I'm putting my spare GoPro batteries in my hiking bag so that I do not make the same mistake that I did at the Mist Trail at Yosemite. All right, I've made it into Pinnacles National Park, and we already have an exciting development. So a lot of the parks that I've been to so far have just had, you know, like normal looking maps, but I finally have made it to a park that takes some inspiration from the ski world. In fact, indeed, the trail ratings for these hikes are classified with some very familiar ratings if you have ever been to a ski resort. So it is very fun to see the ski world collide with the national parks world. I think today we will be doing a combination of the Condor Gulch Trail, which is a black diamond, and the High Peaks Trail, which is also a black diamond. But I think it ends with the Moses Spring Trail, which is a green. Exciting stuff. How about that? All right, folks. I'm on the Condor Gulch Trail at Pinnacles National Park. And a couple of observations so far. First off, the surroundings look like a really interesting mix of Joshua Tree and maybe a little bit of just the national forest that exists here in California. It feels, at least so far, quite a bit less crowded. Like there's nobody here right now. I do wonder if it's because it's a weekday and this park's pretty close to the Bay Area, but final observation right now is it is getting hotter as we're going up in elevation. I think at the bottom it said something about these hikes being 10 degrees hotter at the top than at the bottom. So this is a really interesting phenomenon that I guess I will continue to experience as I get higher up. And there are a lot of bugs. There's one on my hand right now. One more observation. This hike was one of the ones that the trail map rated as a black diamond. Now, it is certainly not the smoothest, and it definitely has a bit of an incline to it, but I would not say this is the most challenging hike I've done in the world. So what I'm wondering is if, now I feel like I'm about maybe 60 or 70% of the way up. I do wonder if we've gotten to the hard part yet. So we'll find out soon. All right, so I made it to the top of the Canyon Gulch Trail. And I think that a Black Diamonds trail here is just a steep and rocky trail, but not like an overly steep and rocky trail. But I'm doing one more that's gonna be a black, and that one is the High Peaks Trail. And on the trail map, it says there is a steep and rocky section. So maybe I'm not at the hardest part yet. We'll see. All right, gang. So I've made it a little bit of the ways through the High Peaks Trail, and I came across this little area that is just off the trail and has these really, really cool rock formations. It is also completely empty. I can hear my echo while talking. It's so quiet and so peaceful. I think I'm gonna have a little snack break here and just enjoy the serenity. Hello friends, so I have an update for you. I have been hiking around for the last several hours, and the goal of today has been to do a loop kind of around the upper part of the Pinnacles up here. But despite that, I am back to exactly where I was about an hour ago. And the reason for that is that two of the best parts of the park, which include the steep and narrow section of the High Peaks Trail and the Tunnel Trail, are basically two alternative routes to get to the same place. So in order to do both of them, I had to basically come back to where I started, and now I'm gonna have to do one of them a second time, which is kind of annoying. I'm probably gonna do the steep and narrow, actually I'm certainly going to do the steep and narrow part of the High Peaks Trail again because it's shorter. But basically, if you're trying to knock out this park in one day and you want to do both of these trails, which I would say are, if you are at Pinnacles, two of the best trails to check out if you are at least of advanced hiking proficiency, you're going to have to either go back on the Condor Trail twice, or you're going to have to do either one of the Tunnel Trail or the High Peaks Trail twice. Or you could park in the west parking lot and avoid the Condor Trail entirely, but that is also what I would say is a important trail to hit. Yeah. Okay, I take what I said back. Doing that in both directions was actually very cool and a different technical challenge in both directions. So would actually recommend doing this. All right, y'all. So I'm back in the parking lot now, and that was a surprisingly aggressive day. So in the end, I ended up hiking 8.1 miles. So yeah, I'd been out here for about 5.5 hours, and honestly, this park grew on me. Like, I wasn't very impressed with the first, like hour or two of it, but I think the parts at the end were the parts that really set it apart. Like, towards the end, we ended up in an area that had a cave you could just walk through. And that was, like, I'd heard there were caves in this park, but I did not expect a trail that went directly through it. And the rock formations were pretty cool as well. So I don't know if I would choose this park over, obviously I wouldn't choose it over Yosemite, and I don't know if I would choose it over Joshua Tree or Death Valley either. But for like a day trip from SF, and I feel like I covered basically everything in this one day too. Like, if you look at the map, it's also one of those maps that reminds you a little bit about of a ski resort. Like, it's just all of these hikes, and they're all in this one area, and you just have two bases where you can drive to. It's not a contiguous park, so it is not a driving park. It is not a driving park, which is very new for my national park journey so far. But I think for a one-day experience, I am glad I did Pinnacles. All right, so I've made it to my stopping ground for tonight, which is Visalia, California. I am beyond exhausted from driving for another 2 hours. I thought that was gonna be an easy drive, but I think hiking for 8 hours and then doing anything will make you exhausted. So I am going to knock myself out and prepare for tomorrow, which will be a day at either, and I haven't decided which one yet, but Kings Canyon or Sequoia National Park. Peace.